Howdy everybody and welcome back. So in this video, we took the semi to the mechanic because there was something wrong with the trailer brakes. We picked it up, but the mechanic was not there that day for us to ask him some questions that you guys had of what was wrong with the trailer brakes. And we also wanted to ask him some other questions. So a couple days later when he was in, we recorded some footage for you all, and it was going to be in this video, but it was going to be over an hour video, and this is good information, and so we thought it could be a video on its own. And so we asked him some questions that you guys had asked of what was wrong with the semi, and then because this was recorded after the last video of me teaching her how to drive the semi. And so we asked him some questions of floating the gears versus double clutching, and that is a very opinionated topic that you guys, some of you all say double clutching is the way to go, others of you guys say that floating the gears is best. So we asked this very seasoned mechanic some questions on his opinion and what he thinks is best. So without further ado, let's get into the video.
Hey guys, I was in the back.
So tell us what was wrong with the Kenworth.
So the Kenworth had slow brake release on the trailer. It was locked up on the...
So it didn't have anything to do with semi, it was all in the trailer?
Well, it was all in the trailer, yes. So the air supply going to the trailer, it takes a certain amount of air to release the brakes. And what happened on that particular one, though, it was an air restriction. And how you can figure out if it's an air restriction, you just, first of all, you take the glad hands off the truck, and then you see how much air pressure is coming out. If you got full air pressure coming out, then you plug it back into the trailer, and then you work from the front of the trailer to wherever the air valves are. In this case, in this area, we have what they call cutter bees. Mm-hmm. And if you leave the ports open throughout the season, or even the wintertime, those bees will get in there and they'll start making their little nests or whatever. So as soon as you put the glad hands back onto the truck and you force the air back, all the bees, the dead bees or whatever.
Because we didn't have the trailer hooked up and it got in there.
Yes.
And so
you can have these little glad hand rubbers that have a screen in them, so that doesn't happen. So what happens though, if you don't have that, all of the waste from the bees and the dead bees, whatever, gets pushed all the way back to the back of the trailer where the valves are, or any 90-degree fitting. They'll, because it'll just keep collecting all the garbage, and pretty soon you can't get the air back to the tanks. Because it has to go to the air valve first and then into the tanks.
And so what'd you do to temporarily fix it during harvest?
During harvest, I replaced the one valve and cleaned out the fittings that were plugged up so the air could get to the tanks. And because the air would go to the tanks, but it was really slow.
And so what'd you do to fix it?
I replaced the air valve. I opened the air, I pulled the air valve off the air tank, cleaned all the dead bees out of it, and then put it back together, and that got you through harvest. And then this winter, we replaced everything.
So, because I take loads too,
Mm-hmm.
and so if that happens to me, like where I get stuck,
Mm-hmm.
somebody said that one time my trailer brakes got stuck about 200 miles from home with my last stop. I had to get underneath and take the nut loose on the rod coming out of the air brake chamber to back the brake shoes off, then it would roll. Thank goodness I was empty.
Right.
Is that what we do?
Well, that is for an emergency purpose only. So if you need to get off the road, or if a tow truck is hooking up to you, they got these, what they call them cage bolts. Would you like me to show you one?
Yeah.
Okay. This is what controls your brakes. This rod is hooked to the slack adjuster, which will sit here and it'll go back and forth to operate the brakes. So if you have a problem with your system and you need to get it released in an emergency or a tow application, what they have is a cage bolt here. You take this bolt out, take it out of there, and you'll insert it into the hole, and it'll lock in there. And then you tighten the bolt up, and it pulls the spring, you know, it squeezes the spring so that the brakes will release without air pressure.
Is that what they did to Dad?
No.
Oh.
We just got lucky.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because the air eventually got worked into the air can, even though it was restricted. You still get enough air in there to where it's going to release. It just takes a long time.
Oh.
Okay, so at this point in the footage, the camera was just pointed down at the ground. And so that you guys aren't looking at concrete the whole time, we thought we would take you guys in the vineyard.
So today I'm duck footing and she is disking. Both jobs keep the weeds out of the organic vineyard, which we are in today. So in the summer we will do like a more detailed video of what these jobs do, but for now just come along for the ride as you listen to what was being said. But it is sunny today, but it is windy. So the 48 degrees feels a lot colder than 48 degrees, but let's get into it. All right, so I'm teaching her how to drive semi.
Yes.
And I can float the gears and I can double clutch, but Dad taught me to float the gears. My brother said not to push the clutch in until you like need it.
Right. That's not, if you go to get your license for a DOT, you have to double clutch.
Yeah.
I mean, floating the gears, probably the best way to do it, in my opinion.
I wasn't really getting it though. Like, I would get some gears, but the majority of the time it was just kind of grinding.
Yeah, so it's all, you have to listen to it. I mean, that's sad for me to say, but I mean, I have to listen to the pitch of the engine, and then eventually you learn the RPMs is what, you know, how you can float the gears so easy. And if you can't, then just push the clutch in, you know, push the clutch in a little bit, and it'll float in there.
Because some people say that, well, somebody said that.
What do? Do you double clutch or float?
Float.
On everything?
Pretty much, I try to. I'm not a truck driver though.
Right.
So I just take them around the area to drive them. And going uphill, floating the gear is not as easy. I mean, going down, sometimes going down is harder. It's because it all depends on your it all depends on your RPMs. So if you're trying to downshift, then bring your RPMs up a little bit, see if that'll float it in a little bit easier.
Can you like get in any truck and just automatically float the gears, or do you have to like know the truck?
No, you can a good truck driver can float any gears.
And you can float any gears?
I pretty much can float any gears now. I've done it so many times. I've been doing it for 30 some odd years, so.
Somebody said it's not floating gears, nothing in the gearbox floats.
No, that's true. All it is you're just trying to find that sweet medium, that sweet spot to where everything just kind of goes in, because all your gears are going like this, and you're just trying to get it to where it just goes just right.
And
because all it is there's these they call them sliding clutches, and those clutches have to mate with the next set. So this clutch here will go into this gear or this gear. It all depends which way you're shifting. And so that's what you're trying to do. You're trying to spline the gears. That's what they call floating.
How come I can get it when I double clutch?
Because you're slowing everything down. When you push the clutch in, you're stopping them. You're releasing that full power of the engine to the tranny. So the transmission, as soon as you push the clutch in, you're taking all that power, that engine, that horsepower away from that transmission.
And the gears are kind of grinding a lot. And so like how much like grinding the gears until they're like, you've ruined your truck?
That's hard to say. They can withstand a lot, but that's the last thing you want to do. You don't want to grind them. So if you're having difficulties, like when you're trying to upshift, you know, using your air, sometimes it's easier just to pull over and start all over. Nobody out there knows why you're pulled over.
We did.
Right? These people don't know why you're pulled over. But then you're sitting in that truck thinking, oh man, I'm so dumb, I'm so dumb. Right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Yeah, but on the other hand, who knows what you're doing?
Yeah.
So You might have had to just pull over and blow your nose. I don't know. It's like...
Somebody said to just use the clutch because that's a lot cheaper than replacing gearbox with stress fractures.
It is. Definitely.
So can floating gears cause stress fractures?
Only if you catch the gear and you give it a shock at the same time, you know, to where that gear goes into that next gear, and if you hit it too hard and where you jolt the truck, that can give it a fresh stress fracture. But that's not really common. And in this area, you'll see most people floating gears. I don't know if floating gears is the correct terminology, but that sounds, sounds good, yeah.
So if you were to, you would recommend to float the gears and not double clutch. Is it like best, what's best for the transmission?
A smooth shift.
So whatever way she can smoothly shift.
Yes, a smooth shift.
So if she can't float
You're
the
not going to
gears-
hurt anything by double clutching. You're not going to hurt anything by just floating it in nice and easy.
So why did my brother say to only push the clutch in when you need it?
Because floating is, you're not using a clutch to float it, right? So when
Right.
you need it, it's at a stop sign or you're taking off. So because every time you push that clutch pedal in, you take that clutch pack and you release everything. You understand?
Yeah.
And so that's how it stops everything. So the more times you use the clutch, I mean, it's not going to hurt anything. I mean, there's no wrong. I mean, that's not the wrong thing to do, is double clutching, because that's what you're taught at the schools.
How come, like, when we're stopped at a stop sign and then
You would try to put it in gear and it grinds. So so you have the clutch and then you have the transmission that'll bolt to the clutch. But in between the two, you have what they call a clutch brake. And that thing just sits in there and floats, okay? So when you go to a stop sign, you push your clutch. You don't do this while you're rolling. You have to be stopped.
Right.
You push the clutch all the way to the floor, and that's when that clutch brake contacts the transmission and the clutch and stops the two.
it's all the way to the floor, it's not just like a little bit?
No, it all depends how your clutch is set up. It's how it's adjusted. Most of the times you want it close to the floor. That way when you are double clutching, you don't hit that clutch brake. Because when you're going 40 miles an hour, and if you go all the way to the floor, those two pieces come together like that, and you're trying to stop it. And all that holds it together is these little square little nubs, and so they snap off. So then you don't have a clutch brake.
So neither one is necessarily better. It's just whatever you can drive the truck best at.
That's how I believe in it, yeah. I mean, whatever is comfortable for you. And you're not, if you're not grinding those gears or making that truck go boom every time you get into a gear, you're okay.
And if you haven't seen what a transmission looks like outside of the semi, you will now. Let's go. Well, I keep covering the camera like we're done.
This is where we do our services. And you can crawl underneath and check certain things out, fix everything.
Little air pockets for.
That's where the lights come out at.
Oh.
So it's all lit up. When
Cool.
And then we got the grate, so that'll go all the way across it, so nobody falls in it. So this is the transmission. This is like what's in your dad's truck. One of these.
And that's what.
So the clutch there's the clutch. Here's one that's got a clutch.
This is a bad one?
This is a bad one, yeah. So that's the clutch. So
The gears.
so the gears are inside.
Right.
You pop this lid off, and there's gears from here to there. Different gears. The clutch, so right now, when you have the engine bolted up to it, everything's pushed really tight. This is all squeezed together, and this is all splined. So that's what makes everything, so that's what's turning the gear train. And as soon as you push the clutch, you pedal in, it takes the pressure off of all this. So this is just all loose then. And so all this here is just spinning. There's nothing holding it together. See, see this is the disc here. So you got a clutch here and a clutch here, and then this is the main clutch pack right in here. This is the one that's got the big springs in it. There's probably some sitting over here that are all tore apart.
When we push the clutch in, it just kind of loosens it all up.
Yeah, as soon as you push the clutch in, it takes all the pressure off of everything. So you take all that horsepower away from that transmission automatically. So everything basically just freewheeling until you come to a stop sign. And then that's when you go all the way till you bottom out, basically, so that little clutch brake stops the transmission.
Sometimes when I'm stopped at a stop sign, I have the clutch pushed in all the way, and then it's like still grinding in gear, and so then I like let my foot off the brake.
And it'll go in then.
Is that because I'm like pushing the brakes too much?
No, it's just like the clutch might need to be adjusted so it pushes, so it squeezes it a little bit harder. I'll show you a clutch brake. See if this tranny has one on it. So there's little tabs here, that one and that one. That's basically when the shaft is through there, and when you're pushing all the way down, you're taking that and you're pushing it like that, and that's stopping the momentum of that transmission, slowing it down to a stop on the transmission. So if you're driving down the road fast, or 30, 40 miles an hour, and you go all the way to the floor and you try to stop all this right away, that you break these little tabs off, and then you don't have a clutch brake anymore.
So when we're going fast, never push the clutch in all the way?
All the way, no. Okay. Never, because you're just trying to stop that whole, you're just trying to stop that whole mechanism that fast, and it can't, something's gonna break. And eventually that's what it is. Just these two little tabs.
Are those broke?
No, this is good. That's all that's all it is.
These tiny little tabs?
Those two tiny little tabs. Yeah, that's what stops the transmission. It slows it way, way down. So that's why you don't go all the way to the floor when you're shifting.
Only when we're completely stopped.
When you're at a complete stop, yeah. Because you can be rolling at a stop sign, coming up to a stop sign, you can be rolling. You can take the shifter and find a gear, and it might go, you know. To me, in my opinion, that's not hurting anything. It's so slow, and you're just barely making it bump until you find it, and then it goes in.
What gear, like when I'm loaded, when I'm like needing to start slow, I'll just start it at 1 and just go through the gears.
That's perfect. That's perfect.
And sometimes I'll start it at 3.
And loaded?
Yeah.
That's really hard on them.
It's best to start it at 1?
Well, at least 1 or 2, yeah. First or second, yeah.
And then what about not loaded? I'll just like sometimes start.
Oh yeah, when I'm not loaded, I mean, if I'm taking a truck on the road or for a road test, I go out of here, I'll start it in 4th sometimes.
Yeah. So when I'm loaded, like 1?
Yeah, 1 or 2. It all depends on your load too.
It's usually like
because
full.
you don't want your clutch to start slipping, because that's what's going to wear them out, and that's what's going to give them all the hot spots and burn them and stuff. So you don't want that when you let up off the clutch, you want to be moving right away. You don't want to let it way up and having to give it gas. Then you're making everything slip in there, and then that's what's burning the clutch to the flywheel. You'll see all these. They're like hot spots. You can see them. They'll be about that long. They're just like you took a torch and heated something up. And it comes from, a lot of that comes from slipping.
Thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
You're busy.
Oh no, I'm just kind of working on a project in there. And then from there, we'll fly to Scotland.
What's it like?
It's beautiful. You would love it. If you like any kind of history, I never liked history, but going over to Scotland, it's just, you fall in love with that place.
We've seen like a whole bunch of videos of like people not understanding how to Scottish speak because they have such a thick accent. Could you? Oh
yeah, it all depends where. If you go way north, like in Ireland, it's really hard to understand. A bit like in the Scottish area, it's tough sometimes, but it's tough for them too. But it's still all the same language, so you can figure it out pretty fast. It's a blast. We love it.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. If you guys want to know more,
In a second, we need the mic.
You what? Oh,
mic.
yeah, I don't want that.
Thank you. Okay, so we hope you guys enjoyed that little conversation we had with the seasoned mechanic of over 30 years. And if you learned something new, let us know in the comments.
And this is the kreatest ting that out of the 20 million uploads to YouTube daily that you guys landed on this video. So we greatly appreciate you guys watching, and we'll see you all in the next one.
I'm here.
You try to say it though.
This is the kreatest ting.
Kreatest.
Kreatest. This is the kreatest ting.
And you all of a sudden just know how to say it?
You're just saying the t instead of th.
This is the kreatest ting.
This is the kreatest ting. With the seasoned mechanic. Sounds like he's a spice. Seasoned mechanic.
Yo, we took the semi to the
Ready?
I said yep and nothing came out.
Right here. Very difficult to drive in a hat because this doesn't work. But at this point in the video, the camera was just pointed to it again. And so that you guys aren't looking at concrete. Good day, everybody, and welcome back to CJfarmGrit.
So in this looking at me like that isn't gonna make me good. My hair stop frizzing up. It's because of you. I'm like sitting next to a balloon.